need to admit all. Now where is the button? It's stuck on muting all. Do you see it, John? Can you do it?
I'm sorry, I'm just going live. I'm just looking at that. Okay, we're good
Oh,
there.
there it is. I've got it.
Okay,
I just hit
The
it.
chat off.
chat's off. Okay. S- See anybody else is coming in? A few more coming in. So Jane, you can admit people if more come in?
Yeah,
Okay, you'll admit Marion.
yeah, just did.
Okay, then we might as well start it. Welcome Hammond North. It's Wednesday, April 29th, 6:03 p.m. for a special meeting. So first the roll call, Jen Welch,
Here?
Tracy Smiley,
Here.
Gil Patton,
Here.
Chris Conti, Tim Fritz.
Here.
Okay, and Randy Vaughn is still out of town. All right. So the first thing would be announcements, and as I was reminded by one of the owners, there will be no chat again tonight, and would appreciate questions from owners be limited to the questions that we're addressing, and at the end we can ask for any questions that we don't address on the agenda. And again, as we said before, there will be no special meeting on May 20th rather, given we don't have a quorum on that day. So the first order of business I have here is a treasurer's report, which our apologies, but we did not do last week. So Tracy.
All right. Thanks, John. So for the month of March, and I'm under the weather, so if I have to repeat myself, please let me know. For the month of March, the operating account ending in 1,600, 1,064, 814 and 21 cent. The reserve account ending, excuse me, in the month is approximately $16,865,970.69. Total prepaids was approximately $46,567.21. For total delinquencies through April 10th, there was approximately 60 owners that were delinquent in the amount of $786,307.
Okay, thank you,
Did you guys hear
Tracy.
me okay? Okay.
Yes. Any questions from board members or from owners? Okay, then we'll move on to the finance committee.
So for the finance committee, we met last Monday, and a couple of things that we reviewed in that meeting was in preparation for the budget cycle. So in the last board meeting of the month of June, we need to share a forecast slash budget for the upcoming year. Due to the timing of the potential sale of the building, we still need to take steps to do that. And so a couple of things that we have on the agenda to think through is the upcoming building insurance. We need to talk through staffing during those conversations, and we also need to look at legal expenses moving forward. So we have created a budget template with some forecasted numbers in there for the month of April, May, and June. And then we will go through each line item by line item to determine what the future expenses and income will look like for the building. We have changed the cadence of the finance committee. Instead of meeting every month, we're now going to meet every 2 weeks until we get through. The budget is going to take quite a bit of time to go through each line item now that we have a better understanding of the run rate of costs and income, which are the HOA fees. We can sit down and have a more predictive analysis that gets us closer to what we think reality will be going into the new year. And that's all from the Finance Committee.
Thanks. Any questions from the board on the Finance Committee report?
No.
Questions from owners? Okay, so the next item I have is committee reports would be the vendor agreements. I think that's town properties. It's Chris and Tim.
I'll speak to it.
Okay.
Chris and I had a meeting with Judd from Town Properties the other day, and last week, I guess, and he forwarded us a proposed contract yesterday. I went over it. Chris went over it very thoroughly, and he's got some questions about it. There are some revisions in the contract. It's basically a similar contract to what we had. They've got some updates in it in their prototypical contract, I guess, that changed going into 2026. So we've got some questions about some of those things that they've added to the contract, and we are scheduled to talk to him again. Chris is going to be out of town, and we are scheduled to talk to him again at 2:00 on Monday afternoon to try to bring this to a conclusion. Anything you want to add, Chris?
That pretty much covers it. So as we talk with Judd, we will clarify points that in the contract that are unclear, and hopefully we'll be able. Hopefully we'll be able. Somebody needs to mute. Hopefully we'll be able to bring back something to the board within the next couple of weeks to review.
Thanks. Any questions from any board members? I would just ask, I think, could you repeat what are the terms of, since we said month by month, I think it's a 60-day termination if be either party?
That's the provision that was added to the termination clause, that either party can terminate the agreement within 60 days with 60 days notice at any time during the contract. So it will be a contract, but it will have a 60-day termination clause in it that we can utilize once we find out when a closing might occur.
Thanks. Any questions from any owners? And raise your hand, please, electronically. Not sure. Did I hear somebody? I don't. Okay. Well, if a hand goes up, we'll recognize it. Okay. So the next thing is the litigation. So on the Port litigation, we have a couple of dates to let everybody know about. November and mediation. We're still in discussions. We had a call, a number of the board members today with Ian Mitchell and Lauren Fackler, who's with CNA. But if it does not get resolved or settled, November 6th is the deadline for the plaintiff experts. And I believe that means to be named. December 4th is the deadline for the defendant experts. January 8th, all discovery has to be completed. February 5th is, that's when motions have to be filed by. If it goes to trial, there's a pretrial conference on March 2nd, and these all dates for January, February, March are in obviously 2027. And then a trial, it would, if it comes to that, would be March 17th. So those are the dates, and that's what's scheduled at this point. Otherwise, there is no real other update. Are there any questions from any board or comments from the board or from the owners? All right. The next one would be the partition process update, as Jan Welch.
Okay, so Tim and I met with Julie Gugino and got an update this week. And here's the report from that. The service delivery, I think everybody remembers that from the beginning, which was a notice to all owners and mortgage companies who were not plaintiffs, that you had to acknowledge your role in the issue, and was by people. It was a very official process. Everybody had to be served. It was a lengthy process. It's largely complete, and the complaint was filed with the court as a result. Now, that was then, or is now, but then there's an amended complaint that had to be filed due to liens, unknown heirs, and estates and title issues, resulting in 10 to 15 new parties which have to get service. And Finney's working, Julie is working her way through those. It's, you know, the number changes on occasion. You might wonder who those parties are. They're not usually just people who feel like raising an issue, although I suppose they could be. But one category, for example, is mortgage companies. Mortgage companies that have loans that are underwater. They might have a dispute with what the calculation is and how much they will get out of it. So that has to be resolved. The court granted the motion for leave to amend the complaint. It's always amazing. You have to get permission to ask permission for something, but that's the way it is. The first amended complaint was filed this week, and there was a fair amount of work that went into getting that. More amendments may become necessary, but we don't know until they happen. Default judgments are being filed for new parties who did not respond. That's the definition of the default judgment. If somebody doesn't respond, then it becomes a default judgment. We're working our way through those. By June, we will file a motion for summary judgment on the issue of the mortgagee's issues. We received approval and are now filing the written request for service on the new parties, including going through the steps to get service by publication of unknown heirs of various estates. So not all estates require this kind of publication, but some of them do. Just depends, I think, on how the will is written or how it's, I don't know, maybe it's a probate decision. But at any rate, some of those require that, and that's a fairly lengthy process as well. And I don't know how long tonight, but at any rate, it's starting to happen. A pre-trial conference is set for September 10th, and the trial, yes, as reported last week, is set for September. It's September 28th if it happens. But there are numerous steps that have to occur before then, and appeals can be filed at every step before and after the trial. Even one appeal can easily take up to 9 months. There's an outside chance. It's an outside chance that this could be wrapped up in the maybe late fall, but that's why it's complicated. There are so many variables with each of these steps. That would be in an ideal world. It can be appealed at different points, and with this many people involved, that is not unlikely. At any point, one or more parties can still try to fight the process. So Tim, can you make some comments or additions to that, or do you have anything else to add?
I do not, Jan. You distilled it as best we could. I can just tell you, everybody, that it's a very complex and very complicated process, and there are branches in the process all along the way. circumstances come up, it adds time to the process. So Julie is fighting her way through it. As these issues come up, she's addressing them. And it's just, there are a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of branches in the process that can interrupt the process along the way.
Okay, and we will continue to do updates as, as things occur.
Thank you, Jan. Are there any questions from the board members? Any questions from any owners? Okay. Then the next item I had was on the sale of the building. Sorry, yes, Gil? You're muted. Okay, let me see if I can unmute you. There you go.
So I did get a response on those other two items. If you want me to provide the update on that.
Sure. What other two items?
On the Burnham and the Seward.
If there's an update, sure.
So I did get an update on the Burnham litigation. We've been trying to get hold of the attorney that's writing up the settlement. Our attorney has told us that they have sent 2 emails and left a voicemail, and they will follow up on that, and they'll let us know as soon as they hear something back, and I will keep pushing on that. I don't know what that's all about, but we'll start trying a different path if we don't get something by the end of the week. And on the Seward litigation, the attorney tells me that they've moved for an extension to file the motion to dismiss through May 21st. And she also advised that the other person being sued in that litigation, which is Safeco Insurance, they filed a motion to dismiss today. So they will keep us informed on that as well.
Okay.
All right.
Any questions on the board on those updates? Okay, can we unmute Diana?
Hi, I got a copy of that partition tome that was 150 pages or whatever. My daughter was served, and so I looked at it, and in it, it says that there could be a possible lien on our unit from First Financial Bank. So I went on the court records and did a search by my name, and underneath it is a bunch of stuff by some Diana Porter, but not me. So is the fact that that's in that an issue for the partition? Because it's not correct.
We'll have to find out. We'll have to.
Yeah, we'll have to bring that up to Julie so she can do a little research on it and find out what's going on there.
It seemed like one of their paralegals.
To that effect, Diana?
Yeah, well, one of the paralegals searched on court records for Diana Porter, and these things come up under Diana Porter, but they're not me, Diana Porter. So, yeah, I can send what it says in the court filings. That's what you mean? I mean, in the summons. It's on page 101, I think, of the summons.
Okay.
Please don't send that as a hard copy, but yes, I assume it's digital, and please send it.
No, it's not digital. It cost $20. It was 150 pages.
Oh.
Can you take a photograph of the first page and the pages, key pages, and we can get started looking at it? Forward that on. Certainly the first page, forward that on to Julie, and we'll see what she says.
Well, there was another one under one of the penthouses that there was some possible lien by Diane, D-I-A-N-E Porter. And I have no idea. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, so I have no idea what all these things are, but it was in the court filing. So,
well, Diana, you could also do an email and just describe it.
Yeah, I'll be glad to do that. That's not a problem. I just think, are there other people that is someone searching in the court records under a name and including things that are other people with the same name? Because it wasn't Diana Ruth Porter. It was just Diana Porter. Anyway, okay. I will do that.
Okay.
We'll ask Julie what kind of protections that we have in order to make sure that the person who's named in these papers is actually a Hammond North resident.
Correct, because it said 910 after the whole thing, but when you go to the court case, it has nothing to do with me.
Okay.
So anyway, okay.
Well, the person will try to investigate that. Pass it on to
Thank
Julie.
you. Appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, any other questions from owners? Okay, then the next item is sale of the building, I guess. Yeah, Gil, were you going to give an update on that?
Yes. So we sent back revised purchase sale agreement to Mike. I believe it was Monday. Today we have, just before the meeting, we received a response back from Mike, which we're going to have to discuss when we go into executive session.
Any other comments from the board on that? Let me just add that there are a few issues that have occurred back and forth, and there's honest disagreement, and we'll have to talk about it. But questions about, as we said in our consent to sell form, quitclaim deed, what does that mean? Are there alternatives, permits, also period for Mike Stacy to get permits to develop the land, restrictions there, but this all will be discussed. All right. Then I had one item that I don't think was on the agenda, which is a question of an agreement. Yeah, Tracy.
I didn't see it on the agenda, but I want to make sure we get to the invoices that need to be paid.
Yeah, I did notice that I didn't put that on, that it wasn't on it, yes. So just with the agreement, without getting the details, we have to talk about it in detail in executive committee. This is done, but basically agreement of the Porter plaintiffs and the HOA on foreclosure, some of the extra charges by one of the plaintiffs and questions of the petition action and agreement to the petition action, but we'll get into that and report back. And if we agree on it, there'll be a vote at the next meeting. So with that, let's turn it back to Tracy for the bills.
Yes, so the bills that I'm going to send for motion to be paid are related to Finney. So I make a motion to pay invoices for Finney, invoice number 49805 in amount of $5,597. Invoice 49806 in amount of $26,301.53. Invoice number 49807 in the amount of $9,384.50. Invoice number 49808 in the amount of $308. Invoice 49809 in the amount of $876.57. And then finally, invoice number 49810 in the amount of $704. The total amount of Finney invoices equate to $43,172.10.
Right. So let me just anybody object to approving these bills altogether? Yes, Gil.
I don't believe we should pay any of these bills until we've done a little bit more work on the information that's contained in, whether or not we feel that they're accurate.
Let me add on that one of these bills, the Burnham bill, the one that's for $876, that there was a question you raised about, there was a line item said expenses, and I believe it was sent around to everybody since we got that email talking to Finney, and that was an expense that they should have specified, and I think they understand that now, but they forward on the detailed bill, and that was a bill for our share, 14.3% of the mediation costs of the mediation day that we did on the Burnham case. So I think that that's appropriate. I don't know whether you want to,
Yeah, the details behind the other ones were actually in the invoice detail. So
That you sent out.
yeah, so Gil, I don't know if you didn't get those copies or what
No, I did
what
get the
the issue.
copies. And as I look through them, there are items that look to be this, they cross-reference. They put these things in categories,
Hmm.
and I see the same categories coming up in every single invoice. So they're not, and I don't know that they can truly be separated, but the invoices that say partition also have other items in there that the other invoices say they're for. So I think we need to go through there and make sure that we're being charged appropriately. And we've got time to do it.
are there
So
any bills? Sorry, Tracy, go ahead.
nope. I was just gonna say I made a motion, so where do we stand on the motion? Unless there's any other discussion.
Was it seconded?
No,
I'm sorry, Chris, was that Chris?
It was, Chris. And
And
I
you,
just asked if the motion was seconded.
right, I wasn't sure if you asked or you did. So it was not seconded. So is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Jan seconds it. All right, then discussion about approving all of them. Gil,
So help me understand again this 14.3%.
sure.
On the,
That's on
on
the Burnham bill. There's a cost for the mediation. And given that in the mediation, there were a number of parties. The Hammond North Association was one party, and there were a number, I think there were at least three, if not four, insurance companies. And I can't tell you how the percentage is divided up, but ours was 14.3% of the total cost of the mediation. So that's what that correctly, as you pointed out, it just said expense. And my conversation with Finney's financial person was they should either, probably both, specify what that expense is or attach the bill, which they sent me. And then I sent around, it was a bit late in the day, around 4 o'clock, I sent that bill around to everybody.
Okay, I'm okay with that invoice. The rest of them, I think we need to do more due diligence on before we approve them. And I don't know why we would want to rush through and pay them when we can wait a couple of weeks and do that review. It's a lot of money to be paying.
Yeah,
Well,
the largest portion of that was related to the partition, which is in line with what we've paid in the past, but okay. Let's put it up for a vote and we'll see.
Any other comments before I jump in? My personal view is that I think Finney has been very amenable as they were today to get the backup. If there's overlap for a charge that shouldn't be in one category, one bill or another bill, I think they would accommodate that. I tend to think we should go ahead and approve them. And if there's, we've had these bills for a couple of days, and I think it's pretty late in the day to get more specifics. The one specific we knew, I think we solved that one. So I think we should go ahead and pay them. And if there's a problem down the road, I'm sure that they would be agreeable to changing something.
I've never heard of anybody going ahead and paying a bill and then going back and asking them to give us our money back after doing the due diligence. We've got 29 days to pay that bill. There's no reason to rush it.
So these services was through the end of month of March. So these bills were sent April 21st, but they were through services for the month of March. So the services have already rendered. And I go through the bills and do my due diligence. But if, again, if you'd like to go through those and we can walk through them as well or walk through them with Isaac, I can definitely do that. But these services were from the month of March, not the
Understood.
month of April.
Understood, but the invoice didn't get here until the 21st. You got 29 days from the 21st.
Is anybody else who would like to comment on it? Well, without any other comments, we have a motion on the floor.
Bill, what you're saying is that the detail that's attached to each one of these invoices is either incomplete uh, or it conflicts with each other. Is that what you're saying?
I think there may be some conflicts there because I wish I had them in front of me now, but you'll see partition identified in on at least 3 of the 4 bills that we've got talked about here. And then you'll see other items identified also across all the invoices. So I'm not sure that some of this, you know, from the individual attorneys might be getting added into this one, and then it's getting added in the other side. I just think we need to take a look at it. It's an awful lot of money.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying it can get really confusing with all the conversations and all the different categories. And somebody had to go in there and parse it. And I'm not sure that whoever did that did it accurately.
Any other questions?
So we could, if this is voted down, we could still do an amendment to pay the one bill, right?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Tracy?
mean, and I mean, again, out of all of the invoices there, the one we were talking about on the Burnham was the smallest amount of $876.57. So I can go through one by one. I can do certain ones, but let's finish the vote and then however that lands, then we can figure it out.
Okay. Let me call the question then. All those in favor of paying all the bills, please raise your hand. Okay. Oppose? Okay. They're 2 to 4. Okay, so where do we move forward then? You want to make a motion on the Burnham bill?
No, instead of going individually, I think it'd be best to give some time back to review each one of them. The Burnham bill was very, very small. The largest one is around the partition, as I mentioned before. When we want to talk about the size, and the partition bill was $26,301. So I don't want to go through each one by one and maybe spend next time when we meet on and going through them again and getting them approved.
Let me ask Gil, since we solved the question with the Burnham, the one line item for expenses, would you be willing to make a motion for Gil on the Burnham bill since you would have no more objections to it?
I'm fine with I'll make a motion that we pay the Burnham bill.
Or is there a second to that? Jan Welch? I don't think we need any further discussion, or does anybody have any just further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of paying the Burnham bill? Okay, 6-0. Okay, thank you. And
Tracy vote for that?
I'm sorry?
Did Tracy vote for that?
I did not.
Oh, you didn't, sorry. I
No.
thought you did. Okay. Do you want to oppose it or you abstain?
Abstaining.
Abstaining. Okay, 5-0. Okay, 5-0-1. All right. So then on the bills, Gil, can you take the 2 biggest bills and review them? The partition 806 and 807, and let us all know if there's any specific questions you have on them.
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, I think that is we didn't get any owner questions. I think that was the agenda that we have. Any last questions or statements from board members?
John,
Any
on the agenda, it says there maybe was an owner question.
It's
Am I not-
listed as other questions, but I don't think we received any.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Are there any owner comments unrelated on anything? All right. Well, thank you. Yes, Tim.
Motion to adjourn to executive session.
All right. Second.
Second.
Okay. Seconded by Chris. All those in favor? Okay. That was 6-0. Okay. Thank you. And we'll see everybody next Wednesday.
Thank you.